The problem also could be for the Giants is they paid Odell, and it took all of 4 games. Think about this. It took all of 4 games for him to sit down, unbeknownst to his team, on ESPN next to Lil Wayne and throw everyone under the bus as a highly compensated individual and wonder if New York's the right spot for him. And then he gets fined for it, and 4 days later starts barking at an air cooling unit on the sideline in the most bizarre way possible. Now, he left the field before the end of the first half while the offense was still on the field. We find out later on he needed an IV. It was a very bizarre weather night in New York. Unseasonably muggy and warm in New York and New Jersey last night. Okay. Let's accept that for what that might be. But I just know this. If I'm trying to do a job and I have somebody who's raving like a lunatic on the sideline over and over again, I'm going to tune that person out, and I'm going to want that person out, gone, no matter how talented they are. And I don't want to see the false equivalence of a quarterback on the sideline barking at his coordinator or barking at his fellow wide receivers, or offensive players. It's not the same thing. Tom Brady is not yelling at an air cooling unit after having just been fined for sitting down with ESPN and throwing everyone underneath a bus in the organization. Tom Brady has not proposed to a kicking net as a joke after, hitting a kicking net. I mean, and Tom Brady's got 5 rings. He's got 5 rings, pardon me.
I mean, I'll take a 6th one.
I know that. He could have a 6th one. He's got 5 rings. Come on, please. Come on.
4-19, Rich, since the boat picture.
That is correct.
4-19.
So there is an Odell problem there. And it is a problem. It is a problem when you keep losing and Fox is zooming in on him. And I saw Martellus Bennett, who I follow on Twitter. He's just like, you don't blame it all on Odell. And he thought that Joe and Troy and the Fox broadcast was way too focused on his antics and not on Eli Manning's inability to play the quarterback position at a high level anymore. And in that regard, I think Martellus was right. But it's also, what have you built up in the respect bank in the National Football League? And at this point, it appears Odell has insufficient funds in that bank. Certainly since he has supremely sufficient funds in his pocket now. And I want to root for that guy. But as I tweeted out last night, to just put a button on all of this, as Brian Dawkins is calling in, and this is the post-mortem of the 2018 Giants season, because the Giants have 10 games to go. And I think it's taking 9 wins at least in this division to win it. And the Giants would have to win 8 of their last 10 games in order to get to that 9 wins. And I don't see even half those amount of wins walking through that door based on what I am seeing defensively as well. My gosh, Carson Wentz and the Eagles carved them up. They had no answer for Alshon Jeffrey and Ertz. And this is a team that came out in the first quarter winging it around because they don't have a running game to threaten you. And so, defense aside, Odell aside, and Saquon is spectacular. I've got a couple old gen stats to give you later on in this first hour on that front. But here's the postmortem of the Giants 2018 season. And I tweeted it out last night, and I'll say it here. Is it possible Ben McAdoo was right about Eli Manning? Is it possible? Geno Smith is tweeting out today that we owe his boy Mac an apology. That's how bad it looked for Eli Manning last night. His interception, that was all on him to start. He can't escape the rush that is clearly in his face all the time, to the point where he's dumping it over the middle of his 40 some odd attempts last night. 10 of them were within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage over the middle. At one point, they cut to Pat Shurmur screaming, "Throw the ball." It looks like Eli's ability to play this game at a high level in 2018, the way that this game has emerged in a passing game, and it has emerged that you need to have at least some modicum of escapability. He doesn't have it anymore, and it kills me to say it. It's the way it looked. And if Ben McAdoo had not gone to Geno and went to Davis Webb instead last year, Giants fans who are irate at McAdoo ending Eli Manning's consecutive start streak as I was last year. I was outraged at the way the Giants handled it. They totally botched it. And for me, the thing that botched it the most is that they turned to a guy that everybody in the New York City area had a front row seat to his inability to be a franchise quarterback, with the number of times it was handed on a platter and an opportunity for Geno Smith. Instead of going to Davis Webb, who everybody would at least let's see what you got in the kid. And clearly we know what the Giants thought they had in him. He's not even on the team anymore. Maybe McAdoo would have still been the coach.
I think we have to think about that as a very probable scenario. That he was right.
Well, he
just didn't have the right guy to replace him.
And he was also not the right guy to come into the Giants organization and tell everybody.
Pull that move.
And that might be an unfair criticism of him, but he also had the menu chart, like he had 90 plays on 2 binders in front of him, and was this odd sort. It was just you need to look the part sometimes in New York City.
Yep.
And he didn't look it.
Nope. But doesn't mean he was wrong.
I was with a buddy of mine last night, diehard Giant fan, and he said he doesn't care if the Giants go 1-15 with Eli Manning. Eli gave him 2 rings, and that alone suffices for Eli Manning.
You're willing to just waste this season?
It's over. Now, it's over. What are you going to go to Alex Tanney? There's no answer here.
So you're just going to let Eli get his brains beaten in and let his legacy take another giant hit?
Well, what would you do? Put Alex Tanney in there to start for the Giants?
Or sign Colin Kaepernick?
Well, that has been out there on the in front of a whole bunch of what has been out there in the tabloids or whatever. Hiring somebody in the middle of this season, throwing them out there for 1-5.
It's better than what we're watching and what we watched last night.
Season is not over.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no, it's over, Jim.
Well, at least it won't play out on national television next week. Oh, yeah. Monday Night Football at Atlanta.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.